Today's video now,
What's with the story with the ducks?
because we're going to be talking about toys. So
Well,
just
we're not just talking about toys, Father, which gets you fast right. We're talking about stuff that, when we were young, what made us laugh, what made us, what was a wow thing, you know.
virtually toys.
Okay, so toys, well, so obviously toys were a very big part of it, but there was other thing that in between where he was born, Rio and Dublin. So what when I was a kid, what made me go wow?
Toys.
Alright, so toys. So he wants to talk about toys, I'll talk about other stuff.
No, we're going to be talking about what made us happy. Kids are happy when they have toys.
So is a Soda Stream a toy? No, it's not, Fabulous. It's not a toy. Is a video recorder a toy? No, it's not, Fabulous.
It could be. It could be. It could be. As we know, it could be. Okay, it at least was a toy in Brazil.
A video recorder was a toy?
Yes, it was. It was given to kids. Anyways, let's start off by dividing these into categories. So you start off, you say one, and I have a chronological order here. I'm going to say one after you, and then it goes like that. You say one, I say one.
In what order?
You start first.
Chronological order?
Yes, you start first.
Okay. Okay, so what was a big thing that influenced me when I was a kid? Well, I'm going to just play, you can listen to this, I'm going to play this.
Back puss, dear back puss, old fat furry puss. Wake up and look at this thing that I bring. Wake up, be bright, golden and light. Back puss.
He's going to be singing forever.
No, that was a humongous influence on my life when I was a kid. And this little fella here.
Don't play, please.
I won't. His name is Charlie Mouse, and his name is Bagpuss. And they were really, really influential. They were a program on, I think it was on BBC TV, because we lived in Dublin. So in Dublin we had, get this, RT1, RT2, BBC One. We had the three channels, you know, whereas the people in the country only had the two or one. But we had the three channels, and Bagpuss was on it, and I used to rush home, and I was enthralled by Bagpuss. I couldn't believe the way he was basically a cloth cat, basically a toy like this, and he lived in a shop. And Emily was his owner, and then Emily would bring a broken toy into the shop, put it in the window, and Bagpuss and all his mates like Charlie Mouse and Magdalene the rag doll and Professor Yaffa would all come alive, and they'd all fix this little toy and sing and dance and stuff like that, and it was one of the best things ever, and I thought it was incredibly magical.
Okay, so one thing that really got me to think when I was a child was this thing called, you know, the arcade games. You remember the Pong arcade games? So they had a console called Magnavox Odyssey 3000, and that would allow you to play tennis.
We'll show you pictures.
Yeah, I'm going to be putting that online. Yeah, but you would be playing tennis, you would be playing soccer, you would be playing hockey, you would be playing basketball, and so on. So, several games. But it was so simple. It was really like, if you see it today, it's ridiculous. But that was such an amazing instrument. I think we had it in 1978 or 79.
And what did it do? Was it plugged into the...
It was plugged into a TV.
And what did it look like?
It looked like the two buttons here, side to side. And it beep, beep, and the ball would be going tuk, tuk, tuk. And then you'd have to guess where the ball was going to come, here or there. It's like pretty much like a squash game.
Yes.
But it was so interesting, it was so revolutionary. I remember I was only 6 or 7 years of age when that came about, and we were glued to the TV playing that for hours.
Well, we had the exact same thing. We had, I don't know what, I can't remember what it's called, I think it's called table tennis or something like that, and we got that with Green Shield stamps, which was a thing you used to collect from the petrol station. My father had buckets of them in the car. I remember we actually sent them away, and we got exactly the same thing. And I remember we played it on TV, and I remember the whole of I lived in Kilmacud in Dublin, and the whole of our street came in and watched it, and we were amazed by these two bats that just did.
Yeah. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, my second...
Excuse me.
No, you finished.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you
did.
did.
Like your bop thing. And
no, I just talked.
Yeah.
Okay. My second toy was something that was really revolutionary. That we were the very first ones in the streets to have, and we were like for about 2 to 3 years the only ones to have it. Was called Cine Show. Cine Show was released in the 1980s and was a toy that was inspired by the Give a Show projector from Jenner from the 60s and 70s. So basically in Brazil they released, there was a big toy company called Estrela, which means star, and they were a monopoly of the toys in Brazil. So they released that Cine Show, and the Cine Show had these small, they were like cartridges of cellophane with cartoons in it that would be inserted into this machine, and then it would be projecting like a film. And that was absolutely amazing. I remember having a gathering of people in my house, and we would be sitting in the dark, and we would be projecting a white wall, and they had like cartridges of Disney stories, Turma da Mônica, which is Monica's Crowd, which is a very Brazilian story, popular story of this little girl called Monica, and also Pelezinho, which is another Brazilian story of the little Pelé football player. So we had cartridges of these three categories, and the people were amazed because we had it for years.
That sounds fascinating.
This is fascination. You can have your own player.
I'm sure it was great. So moving on to me. So I mentioned my next most amazing wow thing, and that was SodaStream. And SodaStream revolutionized my life as a child. I remember Mum and Dad brought it home, and I remember we tried it out, and I remember the three burp, 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 burp. We're really into noises at the moment. So we did the three and the fizz came into the bottle, and then you would pour the cordial in afterwards, and you'd make 7-Up, or you can make Coca-Cola, or you can make orange.
Yeah, this wasn't anything that came to Brazil, because in Brazil we had money to go and buy our soda and to buy our sparkling water, so we were not into producing like homemade soda and homemade sparkling water. We had the money to go and buy
has a problem with the fact that Ireland is such a small little country, yet we have so many famous people and literary people and famous pop stars and so on, and obviously we can add SodaStream to that.
I have a massive problem with that. I'm not going to be discussing when Ireland had the first Olympic swimming pool and stuff like that. I was swimming in Olympic swimming pools when I was 4 years of age. But anyways, my next one would be, I can't left this out, Atari. It's another console that we had to play these games, and they were so much better than the Magnavox that had only 2 buttons at its side. And that I remember you could play Pac-Man, you could play Mortal Kombat, you could play the other one here, Space Invaders, we could play Sequest. Was amazing, and those were very simple compared to the consoles nowadays, but they were so much nicer and revolutionary than the 2 buttons, and they were colorful, so that was amazing. And they were playing like for afternoons after afternoons on that, because you're going to the school in the morning, so afternoon was an Atari time.
Okay, because?
Yeah, that was 1982.
Okay, I have no idea what my dates are, because Fabio will tell you how crap I am with dates and times and so on. But my next really important thing that was really important in my life was this little fella here. That's the Monchichi. Monchichi, I think they've made a resurgence now, but this Monchichi in particular, this Monchichi was mine. I had this many years ago, and he's still with me. Although there's a bit of a story behind him. He went missing from my home years and years ago, and one of my friends when I was like 5, even younger, she was my friend when I think we were 3. Her name is Jean Robinson. Hi Jean. Jean actually pinched him from my home, and she never gave it back. And then we lost touch, and then I'd say about 3 years ago we got in touch again, and I was over in her house. And she went up to her bedroom and she came down and said, I have something for you. And she gave me my Monchichi. Wow. So now it's in my possession. And these were really influential to Jean and I, and to lots of kids. I had so many of these. I had about 10, 15 Monchichis, all different sizes. We had big ones, small ones. We had ones that were old men. We had old mummies and daddies and so on. And what we used to do is we would get a carton, like a plastic carton, say for ice cream, and when that was used up we'd wash it out, and then we'd put our Monchichis, Jean and I, we would put our Monchichis into the carton and wrap them up like they were in bed, and we tied them to the back of our bikes. And we'd go flying around the area with these Monchichis skidding around on the back of our bikes on a piece of string, and we thought it was the best thing ever. And we would do that from like 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. So that was one of my very big things influential on me, was my Monchichi.
Right. So the last thing I said was the 1982 Atari that we got. And of course the cartridges were getting better and better. So that means that we were getting new cartridges every Christmas. So Atari was in our lives for like a couple of years, I would say even more, 5-6 years. And then in the space of 1982 to 1992, I was studying. And then I was getting new Atari cartridges, etc. and board games. But the next thing that came into my life that was like, wow, I couldn't believe, was my very first computer. And that came into my life in 1992, exactly 10 years after I got my first Atari. And that PC that I got was like a really piece of machine that I used. I actually used it to write my master thesis in 1992. And that was a 286 DOS. And was fantastic and was different to everyone else because everyone used to have green screen and ours was amber and was absolutely amazing. And I just, wow, and I remember writing my thesis because friends that came 1 year before me, they were writing their thesis in typewriters, and I actually had a typewriter that my mother gave to me 1 year before.
What's a thesis?
Thesis, my master thesis. So my mother gave me a typewriter a year before so I could write my master thesis, use the typewriter, and I was using it a lot. It was amazing, it was just an electric one, but then the computer was like something to another level. I could not believe I had my own computer in my room and I was only 22.
Wow.
So that's my last one.
My last one would have to be, it's a toss-up. I'll just give some honourable mentions, just for instance, Now. As in Now, number one, the album, that was a really influential thing to me. It was all like music and stuff. It's on record and vinyl. That was really influential. What else? Oh, videos. Video recorders are pretty influential to us. But my main thing that I'd love to have now, I wish I still had now, was my chopper.
Chopper.
Was my chopper.
Yeah.
I wish I had my chopper. I had a chopper that was actually, it was my brother's chopper, and I think it was my other brothers before him. I have 3 other brothers, and I think it went through all of us, and all of us had it at one stage, and I ended up with it, and it was a fantastic bike, and I used to love it. But the only thing was that it was actually pretty much a death trap, because if you did a wheelie on it, you go flying back because of the weight at of the handlebar at the back, of the seat at the back. But I used to love it, and we used to fly around with my mates around Kilmacud and on our choppers. I think we all had choppers, just like BMX became really popular, so were choppers. So that was a huge part of me growing up. Oh, and another honourable mention would be Action Men and Barbie Doll.
For Action Man, like I had Action Man.
Used to marry Action Man and Barbie Doll.
I had Action Man when I was actually younger, and also I had
So no Willy.
BMX, Action Man, and I had...
When I was,
I'm going to say the first time you went to the cinema, 94.
It's so not true. First thing I saw in cinema was Snow White and 7 Dwarfs. But when it was Princess Diana and Charles got married, I remember getting a curtain down, ripping a curtain down like Scottish O'Hara in Galway, ripping a neck curtain down and making dresses for all of my little toys and all of my little Manchichi, he got a dress. And my dolls as well. I used to have dolls and teddy bears. My mum was into bios, and I remember making them. I remember making veils, and I remember making this sort of hoop things out of chicken wire and everything. And my mother was so amazed by this that she took loads of photographs, and I still have the photograph. I just don't know where it is. I'd love to find it and show you, but I do remember that. I remember like making wedding dresses out of neck curtains.
Okay, so after that I have nothing else to say, but just
So she didn't know I was gay, gosh, she
absolutely was sure. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to get notifications, leave comments, and that's it. And like the video.
Just let you know, we're going to be soon going to Rio for Carnival, so we're going to be bringing the camera with us there and showing you loads of stuff.
We're going to be vlogging a lot.
Exactly, and listen, if there's stuff that you'd like us to talk about, or if if there's stuff that you think we should be doing better, let us know, because it's important to us that these are entertaining.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, see you. Bye-bye.